Hi, I'm your host Haneen.
Hi, I'm your host Zoya.
Thank you for tuning in.
And thank you to our guest for showing up.
Thank you. Hi everyone.
Please introduce yourself.
So my name is Demi, but everyone calls me Demi. I am from Nigeria and I'm in my 5th year.
Thank you so much for being our very first guest on Demystifying Debrecen, the podcast.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
So, for our first question, the question that we're going to ask everyone who comes on this podcast, how did you find the university and why did you choose it?
So when I was in high school, I found one of my friends studying, and this was after we were done with our final year exam. So I was a bit confused, like, girl, what are you studying for? And she told me she was applying to a med school in Hungary, and she was studying for the entrance exam. And that was my first time hearing about it and stuff. And then 2 years later, I was in England because after high school, I went to England for sixth form. So I was in my second year of my A-levels. And my parents and I were trying to find where I could go for med school, and we're considering different countries, and we kind of landed on Debrecen. I was reluctant to come, but yeah, that's actually how I found out about it.
Oh, okay. And your friend, she studied medicine?
Yeah, she did. She studied medicine and she graduated last year, I believe. Yeah.
Wow, congrats to her.
I know, right?
Okay. We're going to move on to the next question for now, but I do want to come back to this later.
Okay.
So Demi, what's it like being in fifth year?
Honestly, 5th year has been really interesting. It's been very chill. Maybe sometimes I've been a little too chill. But yeah, it's been okay. It's been calm. As you guys know, because you've been through it as well, the first 2 years are so crazy and so stressful.
Yeah.
So it's been really good to have this time to relax. I mean, it's not you're relaxing too much because it has its own stressors. Because you're trying to plan your 6th year, you're trying to decide what kind of doctor to be, you're trying to decide where to go after graduation.
That sounds so much more stressful than the first 2 years.
Honestly, I thought this was going to be the exciting part, but it's quite daunting because you're making decisions about that decisions that are going to affect the rest of your life, or at least the next part of your life. But school-wise, it's been okay. It's nothing too crazy, and I'm really trying to enjoy this time because I heard that 6th year is intense. So
really,
yeah.
Oh no,
yeah. Everyone I talk to is enjoy your 5th year, enjoy your 5th year. Everyone that has graduated or is in 6th year, they're enjoy this time because you're going to look back at it and yearn for it. So I'm okay, I'm going to try my best to do that.
I can't imagine yearning for more time at Debrecen.
Right?
No, but now that we're in kind of second semester, 4th year, I'm kind of feeling that as well.
Yeah.
I'm gonna miss my friends, my group.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
That's a real thing. I feel when you're in Deb, especially in the beginning, you're just kind of trying to survive. And sometimes it really just hit me this year. I'm wow, 5 years have gone by this quickly.
Yeah.
It's I blinked and now I'm in 5th year and it's the end of 5th year and it's just everything feels it's happened so slow and so fast at the same time. So.
Honestly, sometimes I look back and I think everything happened at snail's pace for so long, and now everything is in
Yes, exactly. It's the two at the same time. Kind of doesn't make sense. But yeah.
Is it 5th year very similar to 4th year?
Yes, in the structure. So it's the same way you have 10 weeks of classes, and then the last 4 weeks of the semester are for block practices, but we have different subjects for the block practice. I think it's the same as you guys where you have 2 weeks of internal, right? But instead of having obs and gyne or surgery for us it's neurology or pediatrics. So but everything else is the same.
And there were 10 weeks of the semester. Do they have a separate schedule for the first 5 weeks and a separate schedule?
Exactly,
Yeah, us. Yeah.
Yes, just the same. I think the only difference really in the structure is that in exam period, if I remember correctly, we have 8 weeks of exam period, not 7.
Oh.
Yes, I don't know why, but yeah.
And we just have more subjects overall, no? How many do you have? 11? 10?
Honestly, I'm not sure, but I think something like that.
Yeah.
Something around that.
And so far, what's your favorite department? You kind of been through all of them.
I think I have multiple favorites.
Like by year, maybe.
Okay. Well,
Actually, wait. That's not a good way.
yeah. But okay, in first and second, I don't think I really had any that I really
Relatable.
liked. Maybe there were some that I preferred to others, but nothing I'm like, oh, I really like this. But in third year, I really enjoyed micro and I really enjoyed patho, like those two.
Yeah.
I mean, not the studying for the patho class, but yeah, I like patho. And in fourth year, I really, really liked farm.
Yeah?
And yeah, farm was so fun for me. And
it gives you the feeling of like you're finally a doctor.
Exactly. Very stressful. Don't get me wrong. Studying for all of these subjects, it was stressful, but they're the ones that I enjoyed the most. And in fifth year so far, I liked dermatology. But yeah, that's about it. This semester, I'm still trying to figure out what I like. I'm not sure yet.
I also really like the immunology department. I feel like they give you absolutely everything that you need.
They are so organized. Their notes, their slides are amazing. Like, they teach well. That was a really good department. Actually, I forgot about that. Yes.
And another one's my favorites is OB-GYN, but I realized that's not a universal experience. It's like, I really like OB-GYN.
Yeah, I love OB-GYN, but I think it's a bit biased because this is my favorite. Like,
that's what you'd like to do.
Not sure yet.
Fair enough. You know, I always thought I wasn't into OB-GYN. Like, I was like, adamant, like, even though I don't know I want to do, I know OB-GYN is not one of them. It was one of those things. And then we got into fourth year, and like literally the first class, I was like, wow, this is actually so cool. So I get the fascination. I really enjoy it too. And I'm actually considering it as the future specialty. I'm still trying to apply.
Demi. I just really like that department because I feel like they're the most hands-on. They're like actually like make you do stuff.
Yes, and see stuff.
They make you like scrub into
in surgeries.
They let you scrub into like C-sections and like surgeries, and I feel like no other department is like so as eager.
I think that's why I feel like with OB-GYN, it's either you really like it or you're like, no. Most people are never in between, because when I talk to people, they're like, oh yeah, I really like it, it's fun, it's cool. Even if they don't want to do it, they enjoy it. And some people are like, please get me out of here. It's very polarizing.
Yeah, that's so true actually. All right. Speaking of departments, like I think Debrecen and just generally maybe medical schools in Hungary. I don't know how far the syllabus goes, but like the syllabus is very specific and it's very different from like at least where I come from, Pakistani medical schools. It's like the first and second year you have. Well, in the first year you have like anatomy, cell biology, molecular biology, medical
genetics.
Actually, medical genetics is now second year. Medical chemistry and
biostats, I think.
Biostatistics and biophysics. And these are all like biophysics I know historically, and medical chemistry I know historically are very tough subjects. And anatomy, of course, is the big bad. It's the one that everybody is terrified of. Even us at our fourth and fifth year stage, we're like
still traumatized.
We're quaking in our boots looking at the anatomy department. And then second year is like anatomy, so neuroanatomy now, and biochemistry 1 and 2, physiology 1 and 2, and now it's medical genetics as well. Yeah, and so like these first 2 years are really the sort of like filter years, because these first 2 years are the most likely that you like fail your exams. But like things get a lot easier when you proceed, right?
Yeah, definitely. Because once you get into third year, you get bombarded by subjects like patho and microbiology, and you start just feeling that you're like becoming a doctor.
Internal.
Also internal medicine. The internal medicine 1 course was actually my favorite because we got to ask so many patients about like their histories and learn how to do that, which I thought was very helpful and was very exciting actually.
Yeah.
And in fourth year, we kind of like now have clinicals, practices, block practices.
And farm.
Yeah, and pharmacology, which is like, it's like medicine is all about pharmacology.
Honestly.
I feel, because like it's what you're gonna do for the rest of your life.
Absolutely.
And
and in fifth year it's really similar to fourth, but most of, if not all, the courses are like clinical. So we have stuff like internal. Because there's internal in every single semester from the beginning of third year, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And then we have dermatology, pediatrics, neurology, anesthesiology, psychiatry, emergency medicine. So just different things like that. And sixth year, I heard that there might be some changes going forward, but I don't really know much about it, so I can't really speak on it. But the way it is right now, it's about 35 weeks of practices in different specialties. There are 6 specialties, I believe: internal medicine, pediatrics, neurology, psychiatry, OB-GYN, and surgery. But I heard there might be some changes. But for now, that's kind of how it is. And you have to do like exams for each of them, and you have to do all of them, of course, to be able to take the state exam and, graduate.
And you can do it like abroad, right?
Yes, definitely. You have a choice. You can do it in Debrecen, you can do it in other parts of Hungary, or you can do it abroad. It's up to you. But like I said, they're planning on making some changes, and we won't know what that is until later. So
I really hope they let us continue to do it abroad. I feel like that's a great...
I think it's nice,
thing.
to get experience and like, just see how medicine is practiced in other countries as well.
But I was looking up like block practices, summer practices abroad, and I realized that everywhere takes quite a bit of money.
Yeah.
I didn't realize this, but like everywhere has like a system.
Yeah.
I was looking into like Singapore, UK, all these places. They have like, you need to apply, you need to get like health documents, you need to get like...
clearance.
Yeah.
It's a lot, I wouldn't lie. Yeah. But I feel it's a lot. That's just it.
Have you done yours anywhere outside?
No, not yet. But I'm planning to do, hopefully, about 2 of my practices abroad for my 6th year practices anyways. But that's still in the works right now. So fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. What about you, Haneen? Have you done... You've done something abroad?
Yeah, I've done summer practice last year in UAE.
How's that?
Yeah, it was... You pay. You have to pay. Everywhere you go, you have to pay. Yeah. And I went to this private hospital, and I actually had a really good experience.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, the doctor was nice. And
which department?
I did it in cardiology, internal medicine cardiology. My doctor was nice, but then he always felt like, I can't teach you much because, you're still a third-year medical student. So he would always send me to, the emergency department, and that's where I actually had so much fun. I got to practice history taking. I had, an amazing doctor. And, yeah, I basically had fun in, with emergency department in contrast to cardiology, which I was supposed to do. But, yeah,
no, honestly.
Nobody wants to know about that.
No, honestly, though. I did my summer practice in cardiology in Pakistan in a public hospital, in a very big public hospital in Lahore. And it was it was a great experience, but my favorite part was the emergency department. They had their own emergency unit, right? And you had people coming in with all sorts of stuff. One woman came in because somebody in her family had measured her blood pressure wrong, and she came in, she was like, my blood pressure is 180. And then I took her blood pressure. And by the way, because this is a public hospital in Pakistan, right? You have lip bump ones everywhere. You have maybe 3 of them in the whole ward. And so I was having a hard time figuring that one out because I'm so used to the electronic ones because we use those here. And I was like, okay, wait, I will figure it out. And her blood pressure came out 120 for me, and I was like, bro, either I'm really wrong or she's really wrong, and I'm not gonna stick around to find out which one. So I told the doctor, can you please take her blood pressure? And then I went and I hid behind the curtain after I told him it was 120 because I was like, if I'm wrong, I don't need to see his face. But then he took it and he was like, wait, it's 120. Oh. And I was behind the curtain, saved.
But yeah, I think it's really nice to, if you can, when you can, to do a practice abroad because, Because, here in Debrecen, sometimes the clinical experience is limited by the language barrier.
It's really,
yeah. So if you can go somewhere where you can communicate better, I feel like it really helps.
It's really a world of difference.
I actually felt that like last year when I did my summer practice. Because like I'd hear patients speaking in Arabic and in English, and I get exactly what they're saying.
Yeah.
And I also got to experience something that I never got to experience in Debrecen, which is the doctor would talk to the patients about like their lives and stuff like that in a way to like, let's say, bring down their blood pressure.
Oh, okay.
And like, let's say he would talk to them about like their lifestyle, their families, their jobs, and their blood pressure would go down. And I would actually love seeing that because like, maybe the doctors here do it, but we don't understand any part of that.
Yeah, and they don't have time to
explain,
like break down every single thing, that is happening in the interaction. So we kind of get like a summary. Yeah,
and we get like we miss out on subtext and stuff. One of my favorite obstetrics and gynecology doctors, she would be like she understood that I was like getting a lot of the Hungarian, but like I was missing out on some subtext. And so like when the patient would walk out, she would turn around and she'd be like, okay, you got the gist, right? And I was like, yeah, okay, her baby is like this, like this. And she was like, okay, also she said that she's having a boy, but she wanted a girl. And like, she didn't say that particularly. She just implied it with the words that she used, basically, well, of course, right?
You miss it.
But I miss it because it's subtext, because it's like sort of like, and there's like, cultural, like, background, nuance and stuff. Yeah, exactly. And in Pakistan, like if I was talking to a patient and I had to tell her like, listen, you have to change your diet. Like I could do that like with perfect clarity in Urdu, like no issue, right? But like here, you can use, I don't know. Like I feel like we've been here for such a long time, but still getting like fluent in Hungarian is such a
hard thing.
It's an obstacle. It's a very difficult thing to do. Right?
And Google Translate is your best friend, but not in every case, because sometimes, like let's say when you want to translate from English to Hungarian, like the Hungarian person looks at you in a very weird way and you don't know what's happening, and then you later realize that Google Translate said it in such a way that appeared a bit rude, or like let's say not like
I get what you mean. That does happen.
But I've definitely been to like shops before where the lady was like, okay, I don't speak English, and then she would just hand me her phone on Google Translate. She'd be like, tell me what's wrong.
It's actually like a lifesaver. I love Google Translate.
It really is.
So, if you're part of this uni, you probably have realized that a huge part of the international student body is Nigerian students. So how is it like being Nigerian in Debrecen?
I think it's great. There are a lot of Nigerians here, and when I tell my friends back home that, oh, there's so many Nigerians here, they're always surprised. It's like, oh, why are there so many Nigerians in Hungary? But I guess, I don't know why, but it's just what it is. But it's really nice because you get like a community of people, and that really helps like when you're, sometimes homesick or something. There are 2 stores here that sell Nigerian groceries, or should I say African groceries, even to like a larger extent. There's Afri Grocery, and there's also Kohinoor Bazaar, so that's great. There are also students that cater to Nigerian food, like they make it and you can order like ready-made food, you can get your hair done, so it's really nice to have that. And it's just so interesting because you meet someone here and then you realize like they're a friend of a friend back in Nigeria, so it's kind of like everyone is connected, which is so funny. But yeah, I really like it.
Have you had like literally that experience?
Yes, I think one time I was on my phone and my friend one of my friends here goes, oh, I know that girl, we went to high school together. I'm like, really? Like, it's such a small world. Like, I feel like I'm saying like a lot, but yeah, not everyone knows everyone, like literally. There tends to be like,
exactly.
I feel like the South Asian student population is very similar, and I can imagine like
even the Arab student body, like everybody just knows each other, or not necessarily know each other, they like know each other.
Yes, I know what you mean.
And there are like Arab places that we can hang out in, and there are like, what else? Oh yeah, I've also related to the fact that you said that like how like people back home, they don't believe that there are like Arab students here. Like they think I'm hanging with Hungarians all the time. But I don't even I only have like one Hungarian friend and that's it. Like probably
Debrecen is really really, really international. And I think it just blows people's minds because it's not a very big city. So it's shocking. But.
Yeah. All of my friends for a while were just like Pakistani or Indian, which is the standard like experience. I think.
Even me here, like I came to kind of like find myself, live in a foreign country, and then the first week of uni, like all my friends Egyptian, not even like Arabs from different type of countries. They were all Egyptian.
I think people subconsciously just gravitate towards like what they know and what they're familiar
100%.
with.
Yeah, they're trying to find their community because, like, at the end of the day, like we kind of become each other's family here.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
so true.
That's so true.
And like some of us come from like places where we're used to those kind of people, so we obviously gravitate towards people we're like used to interacting with.
Yes, exactly.
Like one of the reasons I think that Demi and I became such good friends.
Yeah, because Zoya lived in Nigeria for a while, so I'm like, okay, she understands. Like,
and then you had like Pakistani friends back in London.
Yes, exactly. Oh my god, it was like a cultural exchange.
It was literally, I told my parents like, oh yeah, I made new friends, and one of them was Pakistani and one of them was Nigerian. My mother was like, I'm not surprised.
I'm not surprised. Yeah, because Zoya grew up in Nigeria, so she kind of understands like how things are a bit. And when I was in sixth form in England, almost all of my friends were Pakistani, so I kind of understood a bit of their culture as well. So that's why we work.
Yeah. For context, by the way, for the listeners who are not aware of this, Demi and I have known each other all 5 years of her being here.
That is correct. I met Zoya on the very first day of first year.
Yeah, and it was okay, wait, I wanted to ask you about this actually. You like I still remember the day that I met you, and you were like, oh, there's another like Pakistani guy here, like Zaib. And I was like, how did you guys meet? And I really liked the story of like how you guys met.
Oh yeah, so Zaib and I met online because I took a gap year before I came to Debrecen, and in my gap year I was so obsessed with watching like mid-school vlogs and following people, you know, like what they call on Instagram that have like studygrams and things like that. So I was so obsessed with it at the time, and I was so sure I was going to make mine. So I created an Instagram account because I couldn't really find anything about Debrecen, like I couldn't find anyone with like a studygram that went to Deb, or maybe there was like one or two. So I created mine, and I was like, okay, I'm going to start posting when I come. And I think I posted an introductory post and tagged Debrecen in the comments or something. And Zane found it, and he messaged me and it's like, oh, hey, I'm also starting first year, you know, and like, what's your name? Like, I don't really know much, like, let's exchange information. And he wanted to send me something by email, and he's like, what's your email? And I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't tell you, I'm trying to be anonymous. Because my whole thing was that the Instagram was going to be like an anonymous Deb thing. So I was like, I can't tell you my name, I'm sorry, but he was like, please, like, I don't really know anything, I really need this email. And okay, no, I got an email about something that was important, and he never received it. So he wanted a copy. So that's kind of how we met. And coincidentally, in the first day, we were put in the same group. It was so crazy. And that's how we became friends.
I think that's like a testament to like just the absence of Deb in the social media world.
Yeah, but I think it's definitely gotten better.
Definitely changing now. Yeah, it's definitely changing now. We're definitely not the first to like want to talk about uni-ed experiences.
Yeah,
I mean that's why we're also doing this podcast, guys.
Right?
Yeah,
to fill in the gap.
Yeah. All right, so last Sunday or like the Sunday before that, we met up for lunch. Yeah. And I remember you were wearing the most beautiful outfit, and you were coming from church.
Yes.
And I wanted to ask you if you could talk a little bit about like churches in Debrecen and like what you know about them.
Oh yeah, of course. So there are a good number of churches here. First, there's the Catholic Church, which is, of course, the Hungarian Catholic Church. But they do have Mass in English. I know it's on Sundays. I'm not sure on the time, so I'm not going to. But I know it's like later in the day. So if you're Catholic, there's that option. And there are other churches that are in English that are aimed primarily at international students. For example, there's NCC and there's the Redeemed Church, which is actually my church. So yes, if you're Christian, you can definitely find a church where you fit in. You might have to, do a bit of trial and error, but you definitely find a place where you
That's cool. I didn't know there were so many places.
Yeah, there are. Apart from the two I mentioned in Catholic Church, I feel like there are probably 2 or 3 other ones, and maybe even others that I do not know about. And I know, at least from my church, apart from services on Sundays, there are also things like Bible study and prayer meetings, but I don't know too much about them. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, they do exist.
All right, that's good to know. I mean, I think we only have one mosque in Debrecen
Yeah,
as far
it's
as I
only
know.
for the men for now.
Really?
Like, yeah, we're in Ramadan. No, actually, it's for both women and men. They sometimes make days for the women to go and discuss some stuff, but I don't really know much about it. And right now for Taraweeh, because like it's Ramadan, we have Taraweeh prayer. Ramadan Kareem, guys.
Ramadan Kareem.
Anyways, for the Taraweeh prayer right now, they're like, oh, it's like there's no space for the sisters yet, so we're only gonna do it for the guys for now.
Oh, right.
Which is sad.
Where's the mosque in Deb?
It's on I get that
Sugar.
Really?
Have you never seen that building opposite like Avesta Girosh?
No, I've never noticed. Avesta, like the restaurant.
Yeah, right opposite it, across the street on I Get Them Sugar.
Oh, I'm going to keep a lookout now.
It's just a house, actually. Like, it looks like a house from the outside.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The only thing that like gives it away is that there's a panel there that says
That
like,
said is the mosque.
masjid,
I
yeah.
never noticed, and I walk on that road a lot.
Yeah, because it doesn't look like a mosque at all.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
It's what we have here in Debrecen.
I don't want to talk too much. So now that we've talked about Demi's social life aspects in Debrecen, back to 5th year. So what are the difference in subjects that you found? What are the different study styles that worked out for you? The different resources?
I think the most important thing for me is I've kind of figured out how I study best. You know, when you come, you spend a lot of time trying to figure out the best way for you.
That's so real.
Honestly, and I feel
School
like
doesn't teach you that
exactly.
at all.
You have to figure it out on your own, and everyone is so different. And I think it took me a while, and now I've kind of perfected my studying method. In 1st and 2nd year, for a lot of things, I made my own notes, as in handwritten notes.
Way go, girl.
Yeah. But then I realized actually the higher I went, you just can't keep that up. I mean, maybe there are people that do that. There are probably people that do that still.
Dude, I was unable to make notes for the first 2 years because there was just so much material, but now I make all
Are you serious?
Notes. Yeah.
I'm the opposite. I made notes for everything in 1st and 2nd, medchem, biophysics, everything. Anatomy, I made notes. But now I feel like it's too much. I think it's because now because for example in 2nd year we had 3 courses, biochem, physio, and anatomy / histo / all of them. But in 3rd year, 3rd year has a huge amount of courses, so there was no way I was making notes for all of that.
100%.
So yes, I really figured out how to study. I don't make my own notes anymore. I tend to use pre-made notes written by other students, which is a popular resource here in Deb, and then I read the lecture slides and add any extra information, and I use the internet. So I kind of use different things, but then I add them to already made notes. I don't start writing mine from scratch. And yeah, I think I really figured it out, but I think even with that, it still changes slightly depending on the course. And as for the professors, I think I don't know if I would say they're nicer, but things don't feel as crazy or as scary.
Yeah.
Because when you're in 1st and 2nd year, everything is stressful, everything is intimidating. Not to say you don't feel stress in the other years, because there's always some element of stress in med school. But the teachers, it feels like they
want to help you.
Yes, they respect you more, if that makes sense.
Yeah, in 2nd year, they kind of ignore your existence.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's always a thing of you've made it this far, and that's really good. So that's been nice. That's been nice, honestly.
Yeah, I feel like one of the hardest things to get used to between I think 2nd and 3rd and maybe even 3rd and 4th year was how the doctors will take you very seriously because you're not being taught by just professors anymore, just you're being taught by doctors in the wards and stuff, and these guys will be accommodating, and they'll be okay, what do you want to do, tell me what you want to
absolutely
get more experience in.
And something, so I remember in 1st year we had like 6 absences in med chem. Do you remember? Like we could have the number of absences was so high, which was so nice. But because now that doesn't happen. Maybe you have like 1 max.
Yeah.
So that's something I'm not happy about. But yeah. But overall,
Definitely, but even if we have less absences, we still enjoy it more, I feel like,
absolutely
than the other subjects.
Yeah, because I remember med chem. It used to be twice a week the seminar.
And we have already learned about the stuff back in school
Exactly.
days, so it was just painful.
Like a drag sometimes.
But yeah.
Yeah, and like now you have like no absences for internal endonephro.
Really?
You-
I
yeah.
think it was the same. It was the same for us. Yeah,
because it's like 5 classes
Yes,
out of 10
yes.
weeks. And it's like, you have no absences, but like, low-key, you don't really want to have absences. You're like, fine, I'll go. Like, I'll learn something.
Yeah, because it's not even for long as well. I think part of the reason was in your first and second and third, it's 14 weeks of classes.
Yeah,
So it just
that's
feels
true.
so long. But in fourth and fifth, it's just 10 weeks, and a lot of the courses are only for 5 weeks. So you're
Yeah.
like, I can go for 5 classes. You know?
Yeah.
That's not bad.
Also, because I feel like you're being taught that thing a little more intensively in those 5 classes. Like your focus, or how do I say this? Like they really dive very deep into that subject, and you don't need to keep a long memory of like the last 14 weeks of classes. You can just like keep a memory of like, okay, we learned this last week, we're building upon the same thing.
Yes.
Like in those 5 weeks, like studying, for example, what's the subject we did in 5 weeks? Pulmonology.
Yes.
I feel like I got a really good read on that subject.
Yeah, that
in
was
5
it.
weeks.
It was. I think for not all, there's some I feel like would do better if it was more than 5 weeks. But like you said, Pulmo is a good example of a course that 5 weeks I feel like were enough to cover the basics.
What's a course that you think?
Also urology as well. Like,
Yeah.
I love that.
Yes.
Urology was nice as well. What's the course that you feel like should have had more than 5 weeks?
Okay, let me think. Okay, for now, example, this semester, our internal medicine this semester is hematology, which I really like. And I think in the 5 weeks we touched on, the major issues, should I say, or the major diseases. So, of course, we touched on the most important things. But so that'd be nice to have a few more classes. But I understand, like, the schedule is so packed, there isn't time to do that. And the lectures are really good anyway, so I guess it makes up for the lack of more practices.
Is there like lecture attendance like initially?
Like it's being compulsory?
Yeah, and not even compulsory, but like incentivized in some way.
Sometimes in 5th year, well, it depends. The thing is, 5th year they kind of split the whole year because there are 12 groups, so like groups 1 to 6 and groups 7 to 12. In the first semester, groups 7 to 12 do dermatology and ophthalmology, and then we switch in the second semester, of course. And then the other half does ear, nose, throat, so ENT and emergency medicine. For dermatology and ophthalmology, there are incentives. Like if you go for 80% of the ophthalmology classes, lectures, then you can qualify to do the pre-final. If you don't, you have to do a final exam.
Yeah.
Derm is the same. You get exemptions for going to this number of lectures and stuff like that. So yeah, there are incentives for some, but not all.
Yeah, because we have like smaller classes, like lots and lots of courses, but like overall a smaller time limit to like learn them in. I feel like in 4th and 5th year they go to extra lengths to like encourage us to come to lectures and learn everything properly. While in 2nd year you had like 15 biochemistry lectures. And I never went to any of them. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Even in my hematology internal, I didn't really plan on going to the lectures, honestly. But I think the first day of our like practice / seminar, my seminar teacher, he encouraged us, I know it might not always be convenient, but you should try. And so I was like, I'll give it a try. And it's actually really good.
Worth?
Yeah, I think it's really good. And whenever I go, I don't always go, but whenever I go, I do learn a lot. So yeah.
Yeah. I actually feel that way about farm lectures. I feel like a lot of them are so good.
Yeah.
I don't usually regret going for farm lectures.
How about you, Hanin? What's your favorite lecture?
My favorite lecture, it was like actually patho.
Yeah.
Because I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, patho is really nice.
Yeah,
I like
and
patho.
immunology as well.
Yes.
Because especially like the first, it's only for 1 semester, right?
Yeah.
Immunology.
Yeah, but like most of the lectures are made by this certain professor, and he's actually really good. He was
Really
our
good.
seminary professor,
Yeah.
I feel, yeah. I really liked the derm lectures as well. I mean, I know we had an incentive because, by the way, to the listeners, sometimes most of the time lectures aren't compulsory. Like, you don't have to go. So that's why we're talking about the ones we like and the ones we don't. But even though derm had an incentive, like you could get something from going, I genuinely liked derm. So I actually enjoyed going for it.
That's me going for clinical genetics this semester, although apparently I'm the only one.
You go for clinical genetics?
I do.
You like it?
I am interested, yeah.
I never went. Like for the whole 4th year.
The thing is, we cannot find any sources for that subject.
There are no sources. You have to study the slides by yourself. Like,
oh yeah, and listeners, another fun fact, like when you're in the first 3 years, you have the whole world at your fingertips. You have patho notes everywhere.
So many
patho
resources.
textbooks, anatomy textbooks, biochemistry. Like there's a million of them. There's even a million more YouTube videos. There's a million more subscription websites like you can find, and you can like subscribe to them, and you can just like...
Yeah, even like this one really thing that the uni made this year was the Amboss.
Amboss.
Yeah, they give us free
it's like amazing.
It's
helping us for clinical year so much. So recommendation, if they send another email next year, sign up for it.
Sign up for it 100%, because when you get into like 4th year and 5th year, like all you have is your Amboss and your life. Like you are fighting for those notes.
There are not many resources. Yeah, there are still notes, but it's nothing compared to the amount that you know.
Like there are still like I keep finding like ortho textbooks and stuff. Like there's quite a few of them. The problem is like I feel like what we're supposed to know and like the basics that we're supposed to know, maybe especially like one of the biggest problems with clinical terms is like sometimes they'll just like write like one of the oral topics for the oral exam is going to be like reflex dystrophy, and you're not going to find that in any textbook, and you're only going to realize that that's like a term used for something else, and then you're going to like have to find another book for that. And so, yeah, you really don't have any sort of complete, definite 100%
Trying to find
resource.
where to study from, it's like half the battle, honestly, sometimes.
That's why, like, attending lectures can sometimes be helpful.
Yes, it can.
But with the amount that we have, it's kind of unrealistic
to go for all of
them.
I actually have a group mate that goes for almost all of them.
Is that Amanda? Yeah,
I have
I
a
know.
friend like that too.
Like, it's so impressive. I'm always like, wow, girl, like,
Well done. It requires like dedication. Honestly.
It does. It really does.
It also depends on the type of learner that you are, because
some people
just listen.
Some people need to like listen and learn. Yeah, couldn't be me.
The only lecture I listen in is OB-GYN, guys.
You enjoy it?
It's not like pretty much, and it's like one of the few lectures that I actually attend.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So Demi.
Yeah.
Did you always want to be a doctor?
Kind of. You know, when you're a child, you say, "Oh, I want to be a doctor," because that's just one of the professions. Like people say, you know, if it's not a doctor, it's a lawyer, it's an engineer. At least in Nigeria. So I always started growing up, and I always thought I wanted to be. I mean, there were times I had like slight career changes. There was a time I wanted to be a designer, a fashion designer, and there was a time I wanted to be a journalist. But I always came back to medicine. However, I think because like I mentioned, I took a gap year when I was doing my A-levels. Actually, I took 2 years off before I came to Debrecen. And in those 2 years, a lot of things were happening in my personal life. And then my parents were like, are you sure you really want to do medicine? You know, you could do something else. Because I had always been into economics. And so they were like, you could do that if you want. You could go into... Because, you know, that was when coding and tech was started to become a thing. They're like, you could do that. Just... It doesn't have to be medicine. Like, we want you to know that just because you've said this all these years doesn't mean you actually have to do this.
That's really sweet of your parents.
It was really nice of them, yeah. And that's when I really... And not only my parents, even my family members, like, putting all this... Well, not putting pressure. They were just worried. They wanted to make... Because they were like, you're waiting to get into med school. Like, don't feel like you have to do this. You could actually do something else. And my aunt even suggested nursing as well, which I considered for a bit. But I think in those 2 years, that really solidified my decision. Like, yes, I do want to do medicine. I really can't imagine myself doing anything else. I mean, now I can. But I think as stressful as med school has been sometimes, And as corny as it sounds, I think I was supposed to study medicine. I think the way my life is going right now is how it's supposed to go. So yes.
Oh. Well, I was gonna say something, but I lost my train of thought. But I was gonna ask, like, do you get the feeling like, do you think that you would not be happy doing anything else, or do you think that that's a myth? Because there's a lot of people who do say that they would be like, I wouldn't be happy doing anything else.
I won't lie. Before I started medical school, that's how I thought. I felt like, when my family like brought up their I was like, no, I really want to do this, and I meant it, I did. But I also felt like nothing else was right for me. I don't necessarily feel like that anymore, because I feel like there's so many interesting paths like your life can take when it comes to your career, things you couldn't even map out by yourself. So no, absolutely not. Because for all you know, you could go to medical school and you could only practice for like 5 years and then you end up doing something else, but you can't even foresee that. So no, there are probably people that were made to be doctors and just doctors, but I don't necessarily think it's true of everyone.
Do you have any family members that are like doctors or encouraged you to like come here, or not necessarily here to study medicine?
No, I actually don't have any family members that are doctors.
Wow, Dr. Demi.
I'm trying to, at least in my immediate extended family, I do have people in my family that are nurses and people that were interested in becoming doctors, but no, I'm not actual doctor. I'm trying to think.
Like physiotherapist?
No. But I do have like a really close family friend that is a doctor and he really encouraged me. But yeah, he's the only doctor that I know basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people... Wait, honey, did you always want to be a doctor?
Not really. But also I have like a similar experience like Demi's. Like I would have these parts of my life where I'm like, oh, I should study psychology, I should study business, and then at the same time, medicine is like a good job. I know how to study. I'm good at bio, secure
like science,
future,
job security.
So I'm like, it always kept going like back and forth, and I always kept coming back to medicine until I chose it.
How about you, Zoya?
Oh, I did not want to be a doctor. I never wanted to be a doctor. Really? I wanted to be a scientist. I don't know how I ended up here. But here we are. Yeah. All right. Our final question for our wonderful guest. Thank you so much for coming in. What do you wish you had known before coming here?
Okay. So speaking about Deb as a city, I would say that I wish I knew that even though it's the second largest city in Hungary, it's still quite small and it doesn't have a lot to do.
Yeah.
There aren't a lot of options for things. Don't get me wrong, it's very quiet and it's relatively safe, which is nice. Like you don't feel super like unsafe to be out at night and things. It's great for studying because it's quiet, but can also be a bit boring. There aren't that many things to do, not that many places to go, so that's something to keep in mind. I mean, to be fair, Budapest is only about 2.5 hours away, so you could always go there. But I didn't, because I thought, it's second largest city, I should have done more research, obviously, so that's on me. And also, because a few times when I've had people message me on Instagram to ask about how Debrecen is, they ask about student jobs. That isn't really a thing here. There are a few, but it's not like, I don't know, maybe other countries like the UK or Germany where it's so easy to get like a student job. So that's something to keep in mind, I would say.
On the topic of student jobs, I feel like there's so many more in Budapest, where comparatively in Debrecen, we only have like a handful of customer service jobs.
Whenever you're walking in Budapest or you enter a shop, you always see like some
students.
International student working. I'm like, I wish I could do that.
Yeah, but it's not really a thing here in Deb, unfortunately. So that's just something to keep in mind. And I would also say that Debrecen the university now can be very tough. The good thing is that when you do graduate, you've earned your degree, like you've put in the work. And so, but it is really tough. And I'm not even saying it's impossible to make it, because people do graduate, of course, but it is stressful. Like, I don't know if you've picked up on that throughout this whole episode, but it can be very stressful. And so that's something to really think about, like, and make sure you're making an informed decision. But like I said, when you make it to the end, you feel like
I've made
exactly. Exactly.
Like,
even now that I haven't graduated, I look back on all the things that have happened in the last 5 years, and I'm like, wow.
I've been through so much.
Not even to be dramatic or something, but yes, it's not the easiest environment.
You're in 5th year, 2nd semester. You can be dramatic if you want. Like, honestly, you earned it. You earned it after like putting up with like the stress. The
you
hours.
guys as well. Like, I feel like once you get to like 4th year, 2nd sem as well, you're like, yeah. You can breathe.
Yeah. When I was in 1st year and 2nd year, I would wonder why there were no 5th or like 4th or 5th years around. They're asleep, dude. They need it.
Like right now, I go to class and I come home immediately. Like, I don't hang around. I mean, you guys tend to hang out more actually, but nowadays I go to school and I come home. I'm over it. I'm over everything at this point.
Also, like, because, like, you know how half of the groups are doing like different things.
You don't even see them.
You don't even see them anymore.
Yes, that's
so
true.
sad.
That's so true. Some of my friends, I never see them in campus anymore. Like, never.
Pain.
I know.
To wrap up, Demi, what is something that you would like us to talk about in future episodes?
Okay, I think it would be really nice if you guys maybe talked about people who started medical school here in Deb and realized that it wasn't for them. Because I know there are a couple of people that have experienced that, and I think that's something your listeners, especially people that are trying to make a decision whether to study medicine or even to come to Debrecen or go somewhere else, maybe they probably will find it really useful. So yes, I think that would be a great subject.
And if you're a listener that has been through that kind of experience, you can feel free to talk to us and reach out to us if you want to share your experience and help out some students.
All right. Thank you so much for tuning in to Demystifying Debrecen, the podcast.
But one last thing, I'm going to give you a reverse card and ask you if you want to ask us any question.
No, honestly, no. Right now, nothing comes to mind.
Okay.
So I'm giving you back your card.
You don't want to know why we started this podcast?
Okay, why did you start the podcast? I feel like I know, but let me hear you guys say it.
Do you know?
No, now I'm like, do I know?
No, like,
You
did
tell
we tell you?
Oh,
I was just giving you some ideas. A huge shout out to Demi for being our first guest on our podcast. Thank you so much for waking up today and deciding to spend it like being like in my kitchen.
Thank you so much, guys. I'm really happy I came. This was really fun, and it was so nice, like getting to talk to Hanin and spend time
and I'm so
with
happy
her.
that I got to know you. Like,
Same
I actually
here,
had
girl.
so much fun.
Like, well, this was really fun.
Yeah,
Thanks
easier
for-
than I expected.
Right?
Yeah, all right. So you can watch out on our Instagram for further announcements. We are going to be having polls, questions. We're going to kind of see what people want to hear about, what people want to talk about. And we might even be picking some guests from our Instagram.
If you want to, like, come on our podcast, just feel free to DM us, and we're not going to eat you guys.